Do you know what your bad habits are? That's a pretty hard question, right? But guess what? There's a harder one. Because if I asked you, do you know where your bad habits started from? Now that's going to completely blow your mind because it's almost impossible to answer. But I think today's topic is possibly the origin story of how some bad financial habits are created. But before we get there, I'll take you through a quick introduction of what this whole buy now pay later thing is all about, and then who really benefits from it, and then finally who potentially loses. Hey guys, it's Sunmin and welcome back to Your Money Game, the show where we'll save, invest, and feel better about money. Buy now pay later is super easy to understand. It's literally breaking down your purchase into 3 or 4 installments, so therefore you only pay a small amount on a monthly basis. That's it. So let me work a little harder and give you a few more interesting facts. Now first, it's a booming industry, and one of the older players in the market is called Afterpay, which is an Australian company, and they were recently bought by a US company called Square for $29 billion. And that's only after 7 years of being in operation. In Singapore alone, there are 8 of these players, not including some of the more traditional banks that are including these new services. Point 2 is that while it's new, it's not really that new either. Payment installment plans have always been here. And I remember growing up in Malaysia where courts would always advertise that you can kind of refurnish your house, and yes, you can break that whole payment up into 12 months and it's usually interest free. BNPL is just an evolved version of that where they made it much shorter term, again 3 to 4 months. They made it super easy because they break it down for you on the spot. They have a very simple system where it has 0 fees, and when it comes to the penalties, it's usually just a single flat fee. The third point is that it's such a rapidly growing space that BNPL can pretty much be applied to almost anything that you want to buy right now. With these BNPL players, you've got a whole new industry that are trying to get all kinds of retailers on board. So most of the popular brands are there. But on top of that, you have payment players that have integrated it directly into their payment systems. For example, like Grab or even Fave. And to top it off, because it's boom times right now, like any other news service, they're tossing discounts at you to make you try it out, get on board, see how convenient and awesome the system is. Now, despite my tone, I genuinely feel that there are winners when it comes to the BNPL movement. BNPL makes it easier for people with irregular income to make larger purchases. Unlike credit cards that have strict conditions on applying and getting it, BNPL is available for nearly everybody. Now, it might sound scary on the surface, but it is a genuine problem that people without credit cards have when it comes to affording things a little bit higher in price. We have more than 200,000 gig workers and self-employed people, and if the trend is any indicator, this number will continue to grow. And for this group of people, banks really just don't make it easy for you to get access to credit. If you happen to be in that group and you needed to get something that's a little bit more expensive, maybe furnishing a home, or maybe even getting a piece of equipment for your small business, and it's frankly difficult to fork out cash up front like that if you're just using a debit card, so you might want to check out BNPL. The second group that wins is good money managers because BNPL gives them more flexible cash flow options. Previously, if you wanted to make a large purchase, you would hurt your current month's cash flow or maybe even the next month through a credit card. But thanks to BNPL, you can stretch it out for 3 to 4. But if you do it in a smart way in conjunction with a credit card, you could even add an additional month to that whole repayment system. Therefore, again, you have just more flexibility. With more free cash in hand, you can invest it, you can have it ready for any opportunity, or maybe there's an emergency that might be coming up. That's really up to you. Finally, BNPL really helps those that are active gamers who like to play the system to maximize their rewards. If you're the type who loves to stack all these kind of rewards and points and bonuses, this is just one more industry to add to that list. So I see no reason why you just can't keep your arms open, welcome all these new deals while they last, and just keep using it as long as you stay in control. Unfortunately, with all those perks, somebody has to pay for it. And using an example like Afterpay, you might be surprised that it's not the regular consumer paying all these penalty fees, which is how they make their money. It's only about 10% for them. And the rest of it, comes primarily from merchants. But who cares about the companies? The important question is, who amongst us are the ones that are really at risk of being the losers when it comes to using BNPL in the long term? Now, let me get the obvious one out of the way, which are people who are not very good at managing their money. Now, I'm very confident that if you're watching this video, odds are that you're not amongst the high-risk group. To be honest, I think missing a couple of payments on BNPL, it's actually not the big problem. Sure, it's painful to pay a small penalty fee from $5 all the way to 20, I think. But the truth is they have a cap. So usually after a few missed payments, they just suspend your account and the kind of penalty doesn't really compound, unlike regular credit cards. Those penalties aren't the worst thing because they are only temporary. The thing that I'm much more wary about is what happens to our actual behavior and our habits over a long period when you start to use something like BNPL. Firstly, BNPL can normalize instant gratification. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood meant that I had to be patient and wait and save up for the things that I really wanted, which were more expensive. All that was really good training because not only did it teach me patience, but also to reflect more about what is it that I really wanted. And usually if you delay that purchase, sometimes on that journey you decide that, hey, I didn't really need it, and then you don't end up buying it. Instant gratification simply means that if you want it, you get it right now. And the truth is, BNPL is not to blame when it comes to that kind of culture. It's just driven by lifestyle in today's world. But if you look at the marketing messages, all the different kind of promotions they're tossing at you, how easy they've made it because they've integrated it into your payments, all those things combined just make it really easy for us to say yes to whatever it is that you want right now. And hey, screw thinking about the future, I need to have it right now and I'm gonna just push this button. The next thing is that BNPL could increase the number of times you buy things which you either can't or shouldn't afford. Most of us would have a personal limit in our heads of what we think of as affordable. For some, it's a $40 brunch out at a cafe. For others, it's a $4 boba. And for some richer people, it's $400 on a pair of sneakers. With cash or credit cards, we are normally wired to see it as a single price, and that's the norm. But with BNPL, it tends to break that price up into the installments, and therefore, the actual number that you're seeing is going to be lower. The bigger number is always going to be scarier, but the moment you start seeing a smaller number in front of your face, you're going to be able to say yes much easier. The more you use BNPL, the more likely that whatever limit that you had for affordable actually goes up. Because everything now is just shrunk in terms of the number that you actually see and end up paying on a monthly basis. And you might not even realize how your brain is being rewired. Finally, BNPL can mess with anybody who does not yet have a good budgeting habit. One core part of budgeting is paying yourself first before you take whatever that's extra to spend on in the things that you want. The more you use BNPL, the more likely it is you will end up doing the exact opposite of that good practice. For most of us, yes, it's true, it's normal for us to pay off our major debt first, whether it's a housing loan, whether you might have a car, maybe it's insurance. But imagine a lifestyle where everything that you want is now put in priority and you pay for that first. And if you take that to an extreme, you might end up on a monthly basis working your budget around all those monthly payments first before you end up having to use whatever that's left to plan again for the future, for investments or anything more important. Is your willpower that strong? To sum it up, my 2 cents is that BNPL is really great for those who truly need it. And it's great for those who just want to game the system and have full self-control. But just remember that if you happen to fall somewhere in the middle where you're not terrible at money but you're not really great at it either, it is very possible that using BNPL in the long term could trigger you to develop bad habits which you might not even realize. So I hope you guys found this video interesting, and if you did and you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate your support in clicking that like, sub and bell button, or hey, tell me what you feel about this whole BNPL thing. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back again next Sunday with a brand new video. And until then, you take care and keep playing your own game.